what's going on up there could be the most important event in history. You're talking about physical contact and proof from another system, another planet, another intelligence. That's got to be the biggest event in history, period.
Within the heat of the Nevada desert is a place shrouded in mystery, where truth and fiction bleed into each other. Hardly anything is known by the common person about this place called Area 51. That is, until today. This is the story of Bob Lazar, a man who claims to have worked, researched, and reverse-engineered alien technology at a top-secret government facility called S4, just south of the famed Area 51. His incredulous account has surprised audiences all over the world for decades. Lazar's statements are astounding, to say the least. He claims to be in possession of classified information about recovered alien technology, including documents and records of alien involvement in human affairs spanning more than 10,000 years, and a new element addition to the periodic table, Element 115. This element, according to him, is the key to the propulsion mechanism used by these extraterrestrial vehicles.
They had 9 craft altogether. I only got hands-on with one of them, so I can't really say how the others operated. At one time, and only one time, the bay doors between the hangars were all open, and I could see all the way through. They were all different. There was some paperwork that indicated that this was from the Zeta Reticuli star system.
Bob Lazar described in detail his employment at S4, a purported secret underground facility near Area 51, the top secret military base in a corner of the Nevada test site. Lazar claimed he worked on a retrieval project involving crashed alien spacecraft there. He claimed to have been shown up to 9 crashed or captive flying discs of possible extraterrestrial origin stored in a hangar cut into a mountainside. The craft used an element, 115, that did not exist anywhere on Earth for its gravity-harnessing propulsion and could not possibly have been synthesized on this planet due to its weight. It had to have come from a place where naturally occurring super-heavy elements could be synthesized. He also said that the United States government had obtained about 500 pounds of the element in question from the recovered craft. Lazar spoke about the recovered craft in great detail, including facts about their saucer-shaped design, their use of an anti-gravity propulsion system powered by Element 115, which allegedly generates a gravity wave that allows the vehicle to fly and escape visual detection by bending light around it. He also talked about the strange materials they were constructed from. He described one of them, which he named the Sport model, as having the metal consistency of liquid titanium. He claimed that in the process of reverse engineering the aircraft, when it was dismantled, the reactor he studied was topped by a sphere or semi-sphere, which emitted a force field capable of repulsing human flesh.
It produced a gravitational field of its own. Now, this is something that we can't do. We can't produce any gravity. But there's no machine we can have that turns on that makes gravity. Like, you can turn on an electromagnet and it makes a magnetic field. We can't make a gravitational field. Anyway, this device was producing that. And Barry said, go ahead, try and touch the sphere. And I couldn't. It pushed my hands away, just like 2 like poles of a magnet.
Lazar claimed in the interview that the seats of the saucer he had seen were around the size of a toddler, and that he had seen alien cadavers of a similar size. He claimed to have seen what seemed to be 2 men in lab coats facing down and conversing with something small with long arms. When he momentarily peered through a door window while strolling along a hallway at S4. 30 years later, he said that he did not believe he had seen an extraterrestrial, but that he had seen a dummy that had been used to gauge the size of the supposed aliens, who they called the kids at the base. Lazar said he was fired from his job at the clandestine military base because he sneaked some of his friends into the desert near Area 51 one evening to surreptitiously watch a saucer being test flown. A Lincoln County deputy caught the group leaving the area, and the deputy ratted Lazar out to the authorities. He claims that after his employment was terminated, his records and work at S4 had been scrubbed clean. Around the time of his exposé, there had been persistent and ongoing reports of strange lights over the test site, possible sightings of aircraft maneuvering in ways that violated the laws of aerodynamics. Lazar's claims sent shockwaves through the community and the world at large. They sparked heated discussions, with skeptics questioning the veracity of his tales and believers hailing him as a whistleblower of historic proportions. His detailed explanations and seemingly credible background lent an air of legitimacy to his story. However, with all of the attention that was now focused on him and his story, doubts quickly surfaced, and his critics began to question his credibility. The U.S. Air Force categorically denied the existence of S4 or any program involving the use of recovered alien technology. Lazar's detractors point to discrepancies in his educational background and employment history. Institutions such as Caltech and MIT, where Lazar claimed to have studied, had no record of him ever attending. In 1990, about a year after his initial TV interview, Lazar found himself criminally charged for his role in the operation of what the prosecution called an illegal, high-tech brothel. That, on its own, considerably damaged whatever credibility he had left. His claims concerning his work history were also debunked. He had said he was a former scientist at Los Alamos National Laboratory, the site of the Manhattan Project. He also said he was hired because of his work on a jet engine Honda that made headlines and attracted the attention of Edward Teller, a theoretical physicist at Los Alamos at the time. Teller then gave Lazar the chance to work at EG&G, a covert company that was contracted by the U.S. government and assigned to S4. Bob Lazar was not listed as employed by Los Alamos. The sole document that was accessible was the phone book kept by the lab, which listed him as a contract worker employed by Kirk Mayer, a lesser supplier of the lab's electrochemical engines. Lazar may therefore have been able to enter the laboratory as a member of the Kirk Mayer staff, but probably not as a scientist. This would explain how he was aware of EG&G and S4, which were at the time classified materials not available to the public, but later confirmed by the U.S. government. Lazar presented one of the few bits of physical evidence of his employment at a covert base in Nevada as his case progressed through the court system. It was a W-2 form paid to him by the Department of Naval Intelligence, and it showed an income of less than $1,000. The authenticity of the form itself was called into question. The Department of the Navy does have an Office of Naval Intelligence, but not a Department of Naval Intelligence, as skeptics pointed out. In 2003, Russian scientists discovered element 115, a synthetic radioactive element. It was added to the periodic table in 2013. However, this element, also known as moscovium, is not the same thing as the one Lazar claimed to have discovered. According to him, that element could power alien spacecraft without concerns for gravity. So far, no use has been found for moscovium, the highly radioactive element with a half-life of less than a second and thus decays very quickly.
Element 115, the fuel they had, was stable. In other words, it didn't decay, it wasn't emitting radioactivity. When they synthesized the 2 or 3 atoms of the 115, it did decay, and it was not a stable element.
In 2017, Lazar's workplace was raided by the FBI and local police, which led Lazar followers to believe the mission was to recover element 115. When he was asked directly whether he had it in his possession, he declined, saying if he did, he would not be willing to share that information. The said raid was part of a murder investigation in order to ascertain whether his company sold thallium to a suspect in Michigan, according to documents obtained through a Freedom of Information request. Despite the criticism and attempts by skeptics and the government to silence him, Bob Lazar has maintained his story for over 30 years. He still runs a scientific equipment business and leads a relatively normal life. He even published his autobiography, Dreamland, in 2019. However, the suspicion surrounding S4 and his purported involvement in decoding extraterrestrial technology persists and continues to follow him. Lazar's incredible story has not only survived over 30 years, it continues to thrive. In 2018, Jeremy Corbell, a filmmaker, made a documentary that brought his story back into the spotlight. After being featured on the extensively watched Netflix documentary Bob Lazar, Area 51 and Flying Saucers, Lazar was invited onto the Joe Rogan podcast, which is arguably the most popular podcast globally.
If you have a machine that makes gravity, you can pretty much do anything. You can affect time, you can have force fields, all that stuff that's in science fiction becomes reality if you have a machine that can make gravity. And what we worked on in the desert was a machine that makes gravity.
According to the New York Times in 2020, the Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Task Force, which had been set up to investigate unidentified flying objects and was thought to have been disbanded, was still up and running full operations under the auspices of the Office of Naval Intelligence. This revelation made headlines worldwide, and once again, the possibility of the existence of unidentified aerial phenomena, UAP, has reignited the age-old debate. The implications of Lazar's story are profound. If true, it would mean that the government has been hiding the existence of extraterrestrial life from the public for decades. The government has consistently denied Lazar's claims, stating that he never worked at Area 51 or any other classified facility. They have dismissed his story as mere fiction and have even gone to considerable lengths to discredit him. But if Lazar's claims are false, then why has the government gone to such lengths to silence him? Is the government secretly reverse engineering flying saucers? And if so, why are they hiding it? I believe that the government is hiding something incredibly big and potentially life-changing from us, the people, for their own benefit. Their reaction to Bob's claims hints at guilty behavior as they tried their very best to silence him. If you like this video and you want to see more amazing content, go ahead and check out the next video on our channel.